to our spring town hall meeting, and we're going to continue to have town hall meetings when we come back to being in person, but we will be talking about whether or not we're going to have these meetings still via Zoom, or we can actually see everybody's faces and we can all be in the same room, or if we'll do it back in physical presence with one another, or if it'll be a hybrid. But anyway, so glad to see all of you. Glad to see the sun is shining out there, and we are nearing the end of an incredible year. And incredible can be interpreted in many different ways, but I would say incredible because we have done what our mission is, and that is to educate, to support, to care about all of our students and about each other. So congratulations and well done. We have a lot of different topics for us to talk about in the next hour, and I wanted to make sure that you heard from people other than me. I want to so in advance thank those who will be speaking and sharing the different pieces that we have. Diana, thank you very much for leading us through the PowerPoint. And what I am going to do is, as we kind of move through our presentation, whoever is following you, whoever is speaking, if you will just introduce the next person.
I know Bailey doesn't get here till 12.
So we can just continue through. So our agenda is the topics we want to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about what does it mean to reopen for this summer, this fall. How does that work? What is the transition? Registrate, then we're going to talk. So Diana, will you go to the next slide, please? The second topic we're going to talk about is registration, because that's really important, making sure that we get our students registered for classes. Moving into new student orientation, where Brooke will give us an update as to what our plans are. Craig is going to talk about student activities and what the Bengal student experience will be. I've asked Megan Baskins to give us a quick update on our budget process, where we're at with that. And Stacy Phelan will end talking about our new strategic enrollment management plan. Then we'll have some time for questions and, of course, a closing activity that Kelly will do. So I'm going to have Craig Chatron get us started.
Thanks, Lynn. I think most of you know, when I arrived on campus about a year ago, we all got sent home pretty quickly thereafter. Some of you have blamed me for that, and that might be accurate as well. But I've been so excited for an entire year to say we finally get to talk about reopening and what that might look like. And so, as the university has already announced, we are going to have in-person classes for fall. And what we're trying to do is go back as close as we can to the fall 2019 course schedule. And so all of the courses that we're able to have in person, we're moving to try to do that. And our friends over in academic affairs are working through a lot of those challenges with different types of classes that we found out might be better online or in a high flex environment. And so they're taking care of some of those types of issues. But the folks over in our area, especially the registrar's office, our friends in advising are doing a lot of work right now to make sure that we can get the schedule set up and that we're going to be able to get students registered for those classes. So as we look forward to fall, we will be scheduling events and activities, meetings, in person, and we can expect that for the most part we're headed towards a more normal or back to normal fall semester. You're going to be seeing, I think, in probably the next 3 to 4 weeks, some information about return to work dates, and what we mean is returning to working from an office. The COVID Emergency Operations Committee is going to be talking Tuesday on exactly what those dates are going to be, and hopefully putting some decisions together so we can start planning for that. What I would encourage you all to start anticipating, though, is that over the summer, we will be making a transition back to fully working from our offices again. There's been a couple units that have already asked me, but what if I need my staff back in person earlier than the summer or right before fall semester? Of course, there's going to be some exceptions. And so if your supervisor or if your unit leader thinks your team needs to be back on campus before some of these dates, they will communicate that directly to you. There's a lot of information that we don't know. As we look towards fall semester, some of it feels like trying to predict the future. Some of it feels like trying to read a crystal COVID ball. So there's going to be new information that's going to be coming out. So keep watching the Roaring Back website. Keep watching your email for these announcements. We don't know yet what the guidance is going to be for face coverings in the fall or physical distancing. And so those are all questions that are still up in the air. Like we've done for the past year, we're going to plan for the best. We're going to plan for the best experience for our students, but we're going to still ask everyone to be a little bit flexible depending on what information we get as we move through the spring and into the summer. So, but it is great news that we can start talking about being together in person. So that's the information that we have for reopening. So now I want to hand it over to Corey Zink to start talking a little bit about registration.
Thank you, Craig. Good morning, everyone. So I just want to take a couple minutes to discuss registration advising efforts that are going on currently and will continue as we move through the spring and summer and towards the fall. Obviously, with the great news of the change in format for the fall, that did force us to adjust the registration schedule a bit. I think all of us have seen that, but I just want to walk through that really quick to make sure we're all on the same page. So April 12th, we'll be able to see the schedule. I know initially that was scheduled for the 14th, but my understanding is that has been pulled back a couple days and that schedule will become viewable to the 12th. And then, so that is there. And then the 17th Saturday is when seniors and priority students can begin to register, graduate, post-bac. And then the following week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, is when our juniors, sophomores, and then first year students will be able to register for the fall. Some other dates there to note, obviously spring break is the next week. So that bumps registration right up to that time frame. And then the early May 3rd through 7th is finals week. So those are some dates to keep in mind. I'd also like to share some of the behind the scenes efforts that are going on to assist with registration. And how this office, academic advising, is working with students and communicating with them proactively to make sure they know about these changes and how we can help them get ready for registration for the fall. So one is communicating that revised schedule. I know an email came out from Academic Affairs a couple weeks ago, sharing that with our students. Our office has also been working on some really broad communication to students about engaging with their advisor, having conversations now, preparing for registration as it's coming, a lot of just continued engagement and awareness happening. Our advisors as well in each of the colleges, our academic professional advisors have also been reaching out to their students, their advisees, and working to set up appointments. Their calendars are full with appointments right now, doing a lot of pre-advising work leading up to registration and making sure students are ready and comfortable with registration as it opens. I'm also aware that the President's Office is working on a message. I know they did that last fall, and I believe they're planning to do that again to encourage students to speak with their advisor and register for fall when that opens. One other piece we've been working on is having a video, kind of a video capture of walking through and registering for courses. The reason we're doing a lot of this is because typically we have a bit more time to engage with students personally on campus to help them through the registration process. But with it being so tight with spring break and then potentially going home at that point or kind of disengaging a bit, we want to make sure we have all of this out there in front of these students proactively so they're fully prepared and ready. And then throughout the spring and summer, we're also going to have our peer advisors really assisting our advising entities all across the university to support by calling students, texting students, connecting them, setting up appointments, and so forth. So what we're anticipating is a busy summer. We have a lot to get done with NSO as well as this, but we will do everything in our power to make sure every single student is advised and registered and ready to go and excited in the fall. So we are ready for the challenge and moving forward. I just wanted to kind of see some of the pieces that are in place and will be happening over the next few months. That's it from my end on advising and registration. I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Brooke, who's going to walk us through some information on NSO.
Thank you, Corey. I would like to take a few minutes and fill this group in, update everyone as to how we will proceed with an in-person orientation. So we can dive into those slides. Diana, thanks so much. So this quite familiar with the idea that this is the first year that we are implementing a national best practice in the orientation, transition, and retention of new students, in which, as Corey mentioned, incoming first year, first time students will be advised and will register for class during orientation. Therefore, their attendance at orientation will be mandatory. The difference going forward for this year is that transfer students will not be required to attend this new format. They will go through online pre-orientation. They are welcome to attend any session of orientation, the in-person program, but they are not required to do so. And their advising will be managed through with Corey's team in other capacities like individual appointments. And so we're excited to be launching this new format. So for those who may not be aware that we are launching this, it's an exciting time in the world of orientation because we are joining a national best practice in which it's a one-stop shop for students to both be oriented to the university through the orientation side of those activities, but then with Corey's team, the advising and registration process. And so creating that 2-day in Pocatello and full day programs at the outreach centers is new for us, and we are excited to do so. So we can go into the next slide. And please feel free, if it is helpful to you, to take a screenshot of this, take a picture with your phone if you would like. But in order to accommodate all of our first year, first time students through these orientation programs, we are providing 9 options in Pocatello, 2 in Idaho Falls, 1 in Meridian, and 1 in Twin. And very recently, throughout the winter, January, February, early March, we were working with the health committee to make some determinations about the best modality for each of these. And the final decision in the last couple of weeks, the final decision and where we are heading in terms of mode is that, and you can see this on the screen, of the 9 sessions in Pocatello, 5 of those will be a hybrid approach in which some students will have the option to tune in virtually, whereas those middle sessions of the summer will be meant to be fully in person, no virtual options. So if you can imagine that we're starting with somewhat of a staggered approach. We realize that in May, in early June, for these earliest sessions, there will be some students who may not yet be fully vaccinated, or their parents may not be fully vaccinated. So we felt that a hybrid approach to begin the summer was wise. Session 9 being hybrid is for the purpose of being a catch-all. So throughout the summer, as students continue to be admitted to ISU, we are allowing Session 9 to be that catch-all for all campuses of ISU. So for example, an Idaho Falls student who may have been admitted to ISU and enrolled later in the summer after those Idaho Falls sessions had passed would be able to attend the hybrid approach Session 9 for Pocatello. So you can see the dates listed here. We are excited to be launching in-person sessions, and we will continue to share the RSVP numbers with Corey's team, with other teams who are with us in the details, the logistics of facilities and catering and setup. Some of you heard me mention in a recent meeting that anything we do in person, we will be adhering to the current operational status of ISU, which means that if we are yellow, we are proceeding in a certain manner. If we are green, if we are If we are fully past those operational levels without any limitations, that will be an exciting day. And I know we're closer and closer to that point. But I want to ensure this group that we absolutely are working with the health committee, with facilities, with catering to make certain that the way in which we distribute food is wise, the way that we set up the check-in process, and let this be a more of a drive-through pickup station process for even check-in is something that helps to ensure the safety of everyone involved. One additional thing I will mention, and you can see it to the left of this slide, but in Pocatello, when we have these 2-day sessions, day one is focused on the very traditional ISU orientation activities. For example, the welcome, for example, Title IX, Needham students, the family session, the student small groups. We will provide lunch and dinner on day one. So day one in Pocatello is focused on new student orientation activities. And day two is spearheaded by Corey and his team, as he mentioned, for the advising and registration of those first year students. So it's basically a day-and-a-half program, and we are working with housing for some overnight options for students when they would like to stay overnight. Other families will stay in local hotels, but that is a quick summary of the schedule for the day. Diana, I'm realizing I'm taking too much time, so we can go to our next slide. And this is something that is critical for the success of this new format, and that is that we do need help. We greatly need your help. Not only do we need your help, this entire student affairs unit, in just spreading the word about this new format. If you are speaking to someone on the phone, or you have a student in your office and they have questions about orientation, guiding them to our website. And I'm going to very quickly in the chat box list our website there so that anyone at any time can reference that website when you're speaking to a student. So again, the spreading of communication, helping us to spread the message would be wonderful. For the Pocatello sessions this summer, we are going to need greeters and wayfinders. We need people to be stationed around campus to help students and their families find the rooms where they are supposed to be meeting. We also are going to be requesting from the academic side of ISU participants to help with Meet the Colleges. That is when students will be grouped by their intended academic program. And so we will be putting out that call. And we are going to offer a resource fair. And so that is perhaps most importantly where this group of student affairs would want to participate. You will receive this invitation to host a table. It's a great way to distribute information, of course, safely. So we'll have guidelines in place about how we do that. But that invitation will be forthcoming. At the outreach campuses, centers, same needs. We need greeters and wayfinders. And in Idaho Falls, a resource fair invitation would be going out. And we are going to be communicating these needs via ISU Today, the Student Affairs Weekly Bulletin, and again, our website, which is listed here on this page. One more thing that will be helpful, I believe, to all ISU faculty and staff. We hosted our first round of open forum sessions at the end of January, but on April 13th, 15th, and 16th, we will be doing our second round of open forums in which we will really dive even more deeply into the logistics of all of this. And that would be perhaps a great way for your teams to be even more informed of what we are doing and how we are doing it. And within those open forums, yes, we will be talking even further about volunteer opportunities. And for those who sign up to volunteer with us and to help us, we will have volunteer training sessions in April to really solidify how those days will work. And we are grateful in advance to those who are willing to help us. Before I turn over to the next person, I'm noticing some questions in the chat box. Yes, okay, so thank you, Lynn. Everyone will have access to this presentation with these slides. And okay, so I see a question about Bingle Bridge. Yes, okay, great point. I can clarify that quickly. Bingle Bridge students will start their 7-week bridge program on June 15th. Their session of new student orientation is the weekend immediately before their summer Bingle Bridge classes begin. Now, they will have already picked their summer classes. The Bridge program has been hosting all winter some readiness events in which those students have been selecting their summer Bridge courses. So a Bridge student, at the time they arrive, they will be set for Bridge. They will arrive for new student orientation, go through that 2-day program. They will select at that time their fall courses, but for their summer classes, that will have been solidified far in advance. Thank you for asking that question. As I mentioned, and as you can see on the screen, the open forums that are coming up would be a great chance for further questions. Also, feel free to email us at any time at this email address, nso@isu.edu. And without further ado, Dean Craig Chatrin, I'm going to turn it over to you for student life and activities.
Thanks, Brooke. As I've already gotten to talk about, as we look forward to a fall semester in person, we're also looking forward to a lot of the activities, events, and student organization events that we've missed over the past year plus. And so as we come back into the fall semester, we want to have the first 6 weeks be so packed with fun, meaningful, engaging events that a student can't possibly attend all of them or take in all of the fun that we're going to have. Part of one of the presidential charters is to increase the number of large-scale, energetic, exciting events that are happening on campus. And I heard President Satterley describe the vision of Walt Disney when he created Disneyland and Disney World, and it was that there'd be so much fun that one person can't experience all of it. And that's the kind of the direction that the President's office has given us. So many activities that are fun, big, engaging, that one person can't experience all of them. And so as we look towards fall, we want to really focus in on the first 6 weeks of the semester. And we know that is a time that is critical for new students to get transitioned to the university, and really the time where they're going to make decisions about re-enrolling for the spring or the next fall semester. And so Val Davids has been doing a great job putting together some ideas for some of the events and activities that we're looking for. Things like large-scale conferences, concerts, street fairs, formal dances. Those are all things that Val and her team are going to be working to put together for the fall semester. But we want to make sure that if there are activities in your area that you want included, or that if you have an idea for a large-scale activity, we want to be able to partner with you to make that a reality as well. So if you have ideas, if our residence halls want to host something, if you work with a student organization that wants to host something, please let me know because we'd love to help partner with you and make that a successful event as well. So that's what we're going to be looking for early in the fall semester. But at the beginning of spring, we're also going to do, in the first couple of weeks, a big push of activities. And so there's going to be some of the things that we have traditionally done, trivia nights, scavenger hunts, some of those type of things. But we're really looking for new, big, exciting, and engaging events. And so please let me know if you have any that you would like to include into our calendar or ways that we can partner to make some of those events happen. And then the last thing that I want to say about this is as we get events planned, it's my hope that you're going to encourage your students to come participate, but I hope each of you find some activities to come participate in as well. What we're doing really are activities and events focused on students, but I want an environment where the faculty and staff at ISU are more engaged in some of the events and activities that are going on outside the classroom as well. So if you have questions about that, please feel free to let me know. If there's things you want to partner on, shoot me an email and we can certainly talk about that as well. And now I think we get to invite Megan to come chat about the budget process.
Yes, thank you, Craig. So I'm just going to give a really high level overview of where the budget is at for going into fiscal 22. So on the left side here, we have fiscal year 22 proposed budget by fund type. You can see it's broken out there by appropriated, auxiliary, and local funds. I will point out on that is that this is kind of new, so it might look different because there is no fund for financial aid matching, but we are pulling that out just so we can get a better idea of a more accurate picture of the funding that student affairs can actually strategize with. And this financial aid matching is strictly used for financial aid matching and not to be repurposed. So that just helps us give a little bit more accurate of a picture of what we're working with. The pie chart down below is just made up of those numbers there so you can see the breakout. On the right side, we have fiscal year 21 numbers versus fiscal 22. And so the key points for fiscal 22 as we move forward is that it's relatively flat versus prior year. Our appropriated base funding has not changed. We have the same appropriated funding that we had last year to work with. The change there that you do see is due to the CEC increases that have been built in for fiscal 22. We assumed a 2% across the board, and it looks like our total here of our budget increase is right around 2.1%. So that's basically all due to the CEC increases. Local and auxiliary expenditure budgets for fiscal 22 can fluctuate with revenues. So even though we have our expenditure budget set here for local and auxiliary, if more revenues come in, you will have the ability to spend more matching those revenues coming in. As far as strategic requests going into fiscal 22, those are not included in these numbers. So anything that does get approved will be in addition to these numbers here. And part of those requests were that there were 6 new positions within the division requested, and a net total of 1.1 million in operating requests that will allow the division to focus on priority charters and the division missions. A big piece of that being the student activities that Craig has just talked to as well.
Megan?
Linda.
Yeah, Megan, thank you. I wanted to jump in because all of this is still predicated on Idaho State knowing what our budget is from the state of Idaho, and we don't yet know that. It's also predicated on a hope for the best mindset where, as Megan said, I'm going to be asking for over $1 million in funding to support our efforts and our initiatives. Will I get that? I don't know. I'm hoping to get some of that. And again, all of this is looking at how do we do what we do, and that is we support our students and their success. So anyway, we can talk more about that if there are questions, but just wanted to make sure that you all know that this is still a work in progress. It will be next week that I present our budget and our budget request process to the Leadership Council. Did I cut you off, Megan?
Nope, that's perfect. Thank you, Lynn.
Okay, so I will now turn it over to Stacy Phelan.
Thanks, Lynn. I'm really excited to be able to share where we're at with strategic enrollment management. Over the last year of COVID, it has really pushed us to reevaluate and re-examine how we approach recruitment and retention on our campus. So what we were tasked with first delivering is a fall 2021 plan. So this is really intending to immediately impact enrollment in fall of 2021. So that is our complete focus right now, is just fall of 2021. And we focused on 5 areas. So we identified our competitive context, we identified our target markets, various recruiting strategies. We set for the first time an enrollment target that we're really kind of getting out there in front of and sharing publicly for the first time. And when I share this number, I'm hoping that each one of you look at this number, take some ownership of this number, and get excited about helping us to achieve this number. And then lastly, we covered some key performance indicators because we need to be able to monitor, measure, and communicate our progress toward these numbers. So as Corey mentioned earlier, we open registration in just a few weeks, and we will start to do our enrollment reporting. We will start the countdown to achieving this number. So we're really excited about that. But I just want to point out a few key things from the plan. In terms of our competitive context, we identified 3 things that really make ISU different and unique, and so things that we can be talking to prospective students about. The first is that we're a comprehensive university, both in terms of our academic offerings. We offer more than 250 programs that students can be a part of, as well as comprehensive in terms of student support and extracurricular activities. So students can really get a fantastic experience in all of those ways when they come to Idaho State. We have a healthcare mission for the state, and so that is something that is very unique, and we are able to offer really exciting opportunities for our students, and we want to focus on that. And then finally, career readiness and industry connections. We know that people want to know what the outcome of their degree is going to be. So students want to know, how am I going to get a job? Where am I going to get a job? What kind of money am I going to be making after I get out of high school, out of college? And so we are really focusing on saying our career path internship program makes a big impact for our students, as well as having industry connections like with the INL. That sets us apart and makes us different from our competitors in the state, and we want to push those things. We identified some target markets. So first-time high school students is a big push. 93% of our incoming class last year was between the ages of 18 and 24. So that makes sense that that is our largest target market. Through some research, identified that we had over 12,000 students who have left ISU without finishing their degree. And that's something that we want to change. We want to reach out to those students and see if they would like to come back. So we are going to be offering a $500 per semester scholarship as we reach out to those students to see if they'd like to rejoin us in the fall. Transfer students are another major target population. We have some MOUs that we have recently got off the ground with CEI and CSI that we're hoping will increase the pipeline of those students. And that also makes the path to transfer much simpler for them to navigate. And then lastly, parents and families. We have more information than ever before about parents. And we know that parents are concerned about different things help their child decide where they're going to attend college. So we're going to have some targeted marketing specifically to them about things that they care about. Quickly through our recruiting strategies, we generate leads from multiple sources. It's not just one. We're not just going to high schools, but we're buying names, we're going to college fairs, and we're doing a lot of different things. We're making sure that our communications with our students are frequent, they're timely, and they have an impactful message. We're getting the information they want when they want it. Again, parent and family engagement, and we're also starting to have more target specific outreach. So specific communications to those subpopulations to more accurately curate the message that we're trying to send. Number 9643. I'd love everybody to write that number down, put it on your desk, and think about how you can help us get to 9643. That is a 3% increase from where we were in fall of 2020. This is very much an aspirational number, but we can do this, guys. We have this. We're really excited about this number, and we want to see this come to fruition. Really love to blow this out of the water. But 9643 is where we're putting our focus. And then last thing, our key performance indicators, our yield rate is really kind of measuring the impact of our marketing and our communications. How many students did we convert and actually get them to enroll? And then graduate and graduate enrollment are things that we'll be focusing on, so student credit hour production and head count. And then student success. We don't want to just get students here to enroll. We want to see them through to graduation, as I mentioned. We're looking at 3 measures of student success. So their first semester GPA is a statistically significant indicator that they'll stay with us. And then we're going to look at fall to fall retention, and then we'll look at graduation rates. And then the last indicator is financial impact. Obviously, we're concerned about the financial impact on ISU in terms of our net tuition revenue. But we're also very concerned about the financial impact that our students experience, and we don't feel like we can overlook that. So we're looking at some things in regards to affordability for students. We're looking at how much debt our students graduate with so that we can monitor changes in those metrics and make sure that we're making decisions that make it easy for students to be successful and graduate and move into successful careers. That's my quick overview of the SEM plan. We are actually moving into the Q&A session, so I will turn it back over to the group. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have.
Stacy, thank you. Actually, there's a question about that $500 scholarship in the chat, and I'm wondering if you might be able to respond to that.
You bet. So the $500 scholarship, we are targeting students that have above a 2.0. But if there is a specific situation of a student that you'd like to bring to our attention, please bring it my way. I'd be happy to take an individual look at any situation.
Stacy, thank you. I really want to thank Stacy and her entire team, both within enrollment management and just across the university. Developing a strategic enrollment management plan is really a major undertaking. And what Stacy and her team have done is they have created this tactical plan. So what have we been doing and what are we doing for this coming fall? And then they're now spreading their wings and looking at what do we do for the next several years? How can we be strategic in our enrollment process? And then kind of what happens then is all of our project charters will really come into alignment. So when we talk about what are we doing to recruit students? What are we doing to orient and onboard our students through new student orientation? What experiences are our first year students getting throughout their entire experience? So kind of that retention piece. What does academic advising look like? And then we need to, or the recruitment piece, and then we need to move into the retention piece. What experiences are available for students? What jobs are available for students? What is it like for all of our students to live and learn in a community? And that community, some of our students may not feel comfortable in this community. It's because they've come from a very small town. It could be because they have a different race or ethnicity. So what are we doing to ensure that everybody within our community knows that they are welcomed, that they are needed, and that they are valued? So that's where it's looking at everything that we're doing is focusing on the recruitment of our students and the retention of those students so that they can move forward and earn their degree. And that to me is what is incredibly exciting about our project charters. It also, however, means that really what we're doing is we are creating a new ISU. We are changing culture. And that doesn't happen easily or quickly, but it does happen when we work together for, again, that common good, which that common good, those are our students. So thanks to all of you who presented. I want to turn that over and see if there are any questions, and you're welcome to put questions in the chat, or just kind of speaking up can be really challenging with a group this size, but we are, any and all of us are open and ready to respond to your questions or comments.
I have a quick question, Stacy. On yours, you were talking about the recruitment areas, like your targeted areas. Is that part of the pieces that will come out publicly so we can kind of have a better idea about where those areas are when we're talking with students?
Absolutely, Sarah. So the report is available. We are working on developing an internal website where the full report will be posted, and it'll actually give you some details about what we were thinking when we chose each of those and kind of which subpopulations roll up underneath those as well. So I'd be happy to share that with the group.
Stacy, Stacy, there's a question about what are some of the things in the plan to make transferring from CEI simpler?
I'm really excited to talk about this. I think the CEI agreement is actually being signed tomorrow by President Ammon and President Satterley. What we are offering with the CEI MOU is that students can be dually enrolled at both ISU and CEI at the same time. So they'll be able to take courses. That means that they don't have to then apply again when they're ready to transfer to us. They become a Bengal from day one. And so that gives them catalog rights. It gives them access to degree works where they can monitor their progress and make sure the courses that they're taking are going to keep them online and on track for their degree. We are rolling that out this fall, and we're finalizing the small details to make it possible. We'll be communicating with CEI and CSI about how to communicate that to interested students, and we hope to see our first students this fall.
In that event, wow, I'm texting in my brain. In that event, will we have access to the students' records that fall into our demographic? Meaning, will I have access to students that report as vets or military connected? Do you have any idea yet?
You should, Todd. So basically, they're going to be admitted just like any other ISU students. So they would be in our SIS. You should be able to have access to that information as well.
Fantastic. That's been a struggle. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Stacy, this is Will.
I will.
Will there be an easy way to identify those students that are really at CSI?
Yes.
So we can, again, for our reporting?
Yes. So we're working through the final details of that. Our solution that we've come to thus far, and again, don't quote me on this, this is not final, but we are planning to identify them in two ways. The first way was we're going to attach a cohort tag to them. And the second way is that we're probably going to end up creating a new student type for a couple of reasons, because students can go back and forth between, they might start at CEI, take one class with us in their first semester, and then they may not take classes with us again until semester 3 or 4. So we want to make sure that we're separating those. We're kind of keeping them out of our general population. One, so that we can track and monitor how they're doing, but also so that they don't end up in our continuing student population before they're truly a full ISU student. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Stacy?
Yeah.
Did you say that there was an MOU with CSI as well, or?
Yes, the CSI MOU is complete and signed.
And how does that work?
Exactly the same.
Okay, that's what I was wondering. Okay.
And should we be preparing for these students to be coming to campus here in Idaho Falls to get IDs, to be participating in student activities, things like that?
So the intent of the MOU is that the students can participate in our activities. It's limited, it's not open to everything because they're not a full fee paying student. But there is discussion that we worked with Lowell Shop on. We can actually produce an ID that has dual logos. So it would have both the CEI and the ISU logo on there.
So just to follow up, so does that, there was a question that seemed to me about student organizations. Would they be able to participate in the student organizations as well, or on a limited capacity?
I believe that
so if they want to
be
be part of the African Student Association or something like that, would that be available to them?
Yes, it should be.
As you can tell, that old saying, the devil is in the details, is very true in this case. There are so many things to be aware of, and some we know, some we don't know. So I think that's where, as we navigate through this, if there is a question, continue to ask, continue to raise those so that we can be our best, so that our students can do their best. So great question about funding available for hosting and offering events. Craig, can you take that question, please?
Sure, I was just typing a response, so it's just easier to say it. Lynn has been working incredibly hard to identify some additional funding, and so we're hoping to have some funding available. One of the concepts that we're trying to explore and get funding for is, I don't know the exact name, but it'll be something like "This is your ISU," where if student organizations or, excuse me, individual students have ideas for large events, they can apply for funding through the "This is your ISU" concept, and we're not sure how that's going to work, if it'll be matching funding or just what, but we are hoping to identify some funds that are available to help put on events and activities. I think some of that goes back also to what Lynn said about the budget requests and some of the other unknowns about our budget at this time. The hope is to stack and have a lot of events in the first 6 weeks of the fall semester, and then the first 3 to 4 weeks of the spring semester have the same type of concept. A lot of events, bigger, exciting events that are going to be different than what we do in the fall. Not just take what we do in the fall and repeat it, but different series of events. And then also trying to load activities into either the end of the semester, but especially the spring semester, having a lot of additional activities during that time. So it's not just those first 6 weeks in the fall that we're looking to do things for. It will be different points throughout the year that we really want to put an emphasis on events and activities.
So this fall, it will be 40 years since I started college, which I know that means that many of you were not even born by then. But anyway, when I think back to when I started school, I do remember going to some classes. So for example, I ended up, after 2 years as a deciding student major, I chose sociology as my undergraduate major. And what I remember about one of my classes was I had a professor that snorted. I counted his snorts in class, and one time there were over 50 snorts. So I do remember some of my academics, but what I really remember about my first year of school, I remember going to football games. I remember doing things with my residence hall, my house community. I remember going to different events on the what here we call our quad. I remember meeting those friends and still being in touch with them 40 years later. That's what Craig and Val and what we all want to do, is to make sure that our students will go to their classes, will learn a lot, but will also have a wonderfully fun, engaging experience for the rest of their time at ISU. And that includes all of our campuses, not just Pocatello. There's a question about summer, about plans for summer activities and classes. So Corey, I wonder if you can talk about, well, Craig just kind of answered, but is there information about classes that we can speak to?
I don't have information specifically about summer classes. Lynn, I don't know if anybody else would be able to jump in there.
I can give a quick update on what enrollment's looking like. The last time we ran summer enrollment, we were up 8% over summer of 2020. So students are enrolling in courses at higher rates than they were in 2020.
Craig, are you comfortable in taking this next question about the transition process?
Sure. Are there any plans in place on how to help our current students transition back to normal? Um, Not right now. There are not any plans in place. It's one of the things that's on our list to talk about and try to identify some of the challenges that our current students might be facing. And so it's on a list of things that we're going to be putting together. And some of that's going to be, we already know, students are going to have to juggle work and employment again in a way that they haven't if they were doing mostly online classes. Some of our students have been able to complete their courses in their hometown, living with their family, or trying to provide childcare to their own family. And so trying to help students navigate some of those roadblocks is going to be challenging, especially for students who started this year and have not experienced ISU outside of a pandemic. So we don't have plans yet, but it is on our list of things to be developing as we move forward with a full reopening in the fall.
And one of the pieces of that is we'll be talking to our students and finding out what it is that they need, what do they want, and really learn from them to help guide our efforts to support them. So I'm going to see if there are any other questions, and y'all know my trick. I'm counting backwards, but anyway, if we have a few more questions, we can answer those, and then we have one final activity.
Lynn, if I may, just mention one quick thing related to that last question. So Bingle Welcome Week in Pocatello is one of the other programmatic functions of my office, and we're going to be hosting a planning meeting in the next 10 days. So the invitation is going out, and we're going to have a planning meeting. And so interested campus partners, units within student affairs or outside of student affairs who would like to be a host of an activity for all returning students in the first week of fall classes could plan to attend that meeting and help us to brainstorm ways in which Welcome Week can be better, bigger, more engaging, and help students, as mentioned in that last question, help them to transition back. But we have an exciting opportunity with that week to host activities that really kick off the year in a really phenomenal, vibrant way.
Thanks, Brooke. So really what we're going to be trying to do is to focus our activities and our efforts on those first 6 weeks of the fall semester. There's a lot of research that shows that students will make decisions about returning the following year within those first 6 weeks. We will also be focusing on the first several weeks in January. And of course, as Craig talked about, this is your ISU. That, I believe, is going to be focusing on the month of April. So we really want to start the year, start the semesters, and end the year with a bang. Making sure, again, that students know that this is a place where they live and they learn, where they meet friends and they interact with faculty, and that this is one of their homes away from home. So thank you so much for all of the questions, for your interaction, for your attention. Please, please, please continue to interact. Reach out, email, text. If you're in the office, stop by as we also transition back to working from work, and because we need to work through some of those as well. So I'm going to turn it over now to Kelly or Diana. I'm not sure who's going to take the lead on this last piece.
Nope, we can't hear you, Kelly. So I will take over. Kelly has a thing prepared. It's been a long year. We're still a long way from normal, but we're making the decision to start reconnecting, not just to spaces and routines, but to each other's faces and to the possibilities that were interrupted by the COVID scramble. We have to remain vigilant. We have a ton of work to do to make sure we can open our campus safely and protect our ability to gather again. So let's start thinking about how we can make that happen. Last time we met, we gave you some time to blow up the chat field with your shoutouts, and it was inspiring. This time, we're going to provide some musical accompaniment, Connection by One Republic, and ask you to blow up the chat with everything you're looking forward to reconnecting to. On a purely personal note, from Kelly, thrilled to rediscover my professional wardrobe. I've been wearing yoga pants for 6 months. On a more professional note, it nearly makes me tear up to find myself again in the midst of people I love working with. It's not just about the job. We've been doing the job together all along. It's about filling my days with the richness of their presence. Now I will cue the music and let's fill the chat with everything we're looking forward to doing, experiencing, picking back up, and connecting to this summer and fall.
All right, so like Ambry, I am a little teary. Thank you. Kelly and Diana, thank you for doing that. And for all of you, thank you for being here today, but thank you also for being here, whether here is on campus, in your office, at home, on a computer, but thank you for being here every day. Have a wonderful, wonderful first day of April, and let's make it a great month. Bye, everybody.